So now that we have the skeleton of the business set up, we are now going to make contests. And the first contest I think everybody normally makes is what? Replay, right? So replay is going to be the first contest we're going to make. So to make a new contest of any kind, you just right click anywhere over here. You can also go to server, new, or hit Control N. I personally just like to right click and go to create new. And it says, what do you want to create? We're going to create a contest. Okay, well, what kind of contest are you going to make? And you click here and you will see these are all the contests that you would expect and that you would, you come to love over the years. So down here at the bottom, you have replay. So we're going to select replay and we're going to say enter a unique name for the contest. So every single contest in services must be a unique name. And every single contest in services has to also have some unique parameters to it. One of those unique parameters is the buy-in. So it is very important to understand that a typical configuration, especially if you have something like over the top, is going to be a lot of contests. So what I would recommend that you do when you decide on how you want to name your contests is you want to name them with a couple of identifiers where they will not change. For example, for an RA Core replay, let's say that it's a 2-hour replay. Okay, well, that's going to be the fast replay, right? So we're going to call that something like RA Core Fast 01. So that will be like actually we could say RA Core Replay Fast 01. There we go. So you have the region name, you have the contest name, and then you have something to identify the contest. If you want to use shorter abbreviations, you're welcome to, but again, everything must be unique. So we're going to create RA Core Replay Fast 01. And that contest has now been created successfully. And you will see it shows up in the region, replay, not grouped. And we'll go over groups in a later video. RA Core Replay Fast 01. So now when you double click this, you will see you have 4 pages of things in your contest. You have general settings, contest specific settings, live editing, and board view. So we're going to go over each of these. But the first thing we need to do is we need to set this up. And the first thing we need to tell services is what games are we going to accept? You know, what games from what regions are going to go onto this contest? That is done as you scroll down a little bit. That is done right here. You have your allowed regions and you have your sources. So you have to select the regions that this contest is going to apply for. Now, this is going to be, I'm creating a replay that's for the RA Core region. I don't want it in Dragonfire. I just want it in RA Core. So I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to put RA Core over here. And then in the sources, I want everything in my region here to apply to replay. So I'm going to left click this. I'm going to scroll to the bottom and hold shift and click, and it selects everything. And then I just drag and drop it here. And now everything now applies to replay. You can see here my contest is offline. So there is no there's nothing that is being processed. If the data center is sending data, this contest is currently being ignored because it is offline. There's no games being processed. So we can make sure it's offline when you go through and you do your configuration. When you create a new contest or you clone a contest, which we're going to talk about later, it will always be created or cloned as being offline. So at first, but it doesn't hurt to double check. So at the bottom of almost every contest, you will have the option of a pay a region and payments priority. For the replay contest, payments priority is a worthless setting, and we're not going to go. We'll go over it on another video with other contests, but for replay, it doesn't apply. The payer region is the region that you want to make the payments for this particular contest. If you set it to all regions, which we do not recommend, but it is the default, any payer that is a replay payer from any region can make the payment. So you want to make sure, if you want to set this up so that only a payer in RA Core can make this payment, then you need to set the payer region to the region that the replay is in, that you want to make the payment. So in this case, I want to set it to RA Core because that's where my replay is. Okay. Now on contest specific settings, this is going to be what you are used to in terms of like editing your note cards for your contests, or for web replay, you would go into your contest settings and change it. That's what you're doing here. You have, for every contest, you're going to have fonts and colors. We have several fonts that are defined for you already. You can experiment, find which one you like for your location. If none of those work and you want something else, contact me and Raziel. We will see if we can add it for you. But it has to be a a font that we're allowed to distribute. And then we have default color, buy-in range, so on and so forth. We have a lot of settings here. This is just so you can set the color of all of the stuff. You may see on some contests that some of these colors may not apply. Like, for example, on, I believe, Over the Top, you'll see an option for like the score that the last winner got, and you'll be able to select that color. However, that color would not apply. That is just worth pointing out, that you may see some colors that don't technically apply, but you will see everything that does apply. So you'll have to experiment and find your color scheme the way you want it. Again, I'm not going to go over like how to set up a replay contest. I think we all know that, but I'm just kind of going over here. We've got the typical things here: the buy-in ranges, the main session timer, and so on. You'll see these little sliders here for like infinite, like maximum buy-in, it's infinite. This here is a slider. You can just click it, and now you're going to enter a value. So you're going to say, if you want this replay to only go up to 1,000 linden, right, you could say 1,000. And then this will only be a 0 to 1,000 replay. It's kind of unusual, but that setting is available. Some settings that you change, it will not be able to save the settings immediately because you may need to type a bunch of stuff. If it does that, you might have seen this thing blink and turn yellow, or it may turn a different color depending on the theme that you're using. This is just, and it says here pending changes, and you have a little disk icon. This means that your changes are not saved and they're pending, and you need to hit this disk in order to save that change. So if you hit the disk here, it's now saved. The yellow goes away. It doesn't say pending changes, and this particular setting is now saved. If you want to go back to infinite, you just click the slider. It goes back to infinite, and it saves it automatically. You notice it doesn't say pending changes. Some things can be saved automatically, some things cannot. So this is, again, all stuff that you're used to. Session timers, main session duration, synchronizing to midnight SLT, things like that. Credit session length, this is all stuff that's, you know how it works in web replay, not going to go over it. The rules are the same way as well, but they just look a little different. You can add a rule, and it's the same stuff you expect, right? 50 linden, if position is greater than, excuse me, if position is less than 2. So that would be like first place only, because this is absolute, right? If it is less than 2, so that means only 1 applies. So again, that's the same way web replay works. So easy stuff. Max credits, duration, carried credits, all the same. The differences here that you may, that are a little bit different than how web replay works here, save that, is the reminders. So in web replay, you used to be able to specify the number of hours remaining in the credits separated by colon, and you would be able to specify a whole bunch of hours to remind the player. So like if you had a week-long contest, you could just remind them thousands of times, right? Um, we do not allow this in services because we do not want this to be used as a spamming tool. So what we have here is we have two types of reminders that you can enable. And I'm going to enable both of these right now. The daily reminder is how many hours are we going to wait before sending them a reminder about their credits. The absolute fastest that you can set is 6 hours. So you can have this thing send a reminder of somebody's credits every 6 hours. Okay, that should be more than enough. That is 4 reminders a day. Okay, so this should be more than enough. And in session reminder means if there is some time before the session ends, let's say it's a weekly replay, and you don't carry any credits over and you want to give them a reminder, you can actually set this to the number of hours before the session ends. This will be sent in addition to this. So let's say that 5 hours remaining in the contest, you will send your 6-hour interval for your daily reminder. So they'll get a reminder with 5 hours left. But then when there's 2 hours remaining in the session, they will get another reminder. Okay, so that one kind of comes 3 hours later and not 6. Okay, so that is the second type of reminder you can send. There will be no other reminders options that you will be permitted to send through services. This is enough. And if the player doesn't like it on the replay board itself, the player will get the option to opt out of replay reminders, and that will opt them out of those reminders. Now you also have in every contest, let me save that. In every contest, you have the bot manager. We only support smart bots. We do not support any other bot. If you have a Piku bot or something else, we do not support it. Period. End of story. Piku bot has not been supported by their own creators for years now. The only bot that is technical enough to be able to do what services needs it to do is SmartBots. So if you do not have SmartBots and you want a bot and you're using something like Piku, you are not going to be able to use the bot function unless you get SmartBots. So sorry to say that, but they are the only ones that has a sophisticated enough bot for this to be able to function. So I'm not going to go into the settings of the smart bots, but every contest has it. And if you need help, you can just mouse over any of these question marks and it will tell you how to configure your bot. And you can have the bot send a message, for example, every time a new session starts. Probably not something you want to do for a 2-hour replay, but maybe for like a monthly or a weekly or something like that. You might, send a notice and say, hey, the new monthly start, right? And then last but not least, you have the messaging. So in the messages, you can tell it how do you want the board to communicate. Do you not want it to say anything? Whisper, say, or shout. And then you give a location name. It defaults to our region because we don't know your region name and there are default messages. So the default will just refer to your region as our region. Thanks for playing in our region. Okay. So you'll need to change this to your location name and you will give it an SO URL. The SO URL that you put here can be referenced in your messages right where is it? Here? Let me see. Right here. Yes. Like for example, in your reminder, your replay credits of this much are available at SO URL. If you want to use the region SO URL, the one that you configured here, where is it? Edit known regions. RA core, right? If you want to use the region SO URL here, you can come over here and change SO URL to region SO URL. That will replace the that area with the swirl of the region of what board did the check-in. So if the board was in the RA core region, it will attach that SO URL to the message. And that is the only differences, I think, between web replay and services as it comes to replay. And we're going to leave all the default colors here for now. So now, what about live editing and board? So in order to use these two features, you have to, let me save the settings here. You have to be online. So we're going to come back to general settings and we're going to set the board online. Now, once you set a board online, if you have a data center in world, and let's say I have one in the RA core region and I'm listening to these sources, immediately when you turn this online, this contest is processing games. Okay, it doesn't matter that you don't have something rezzed in the world. The boards are optional. Remember, we said that in an older video. So do not turn a contest online until you are sure that you're ready to turn it online. If you want to be safe and you're like, well, but I want to make sure first, what you can do is when it is offline, you can actually just not assign it any region at all. Let's just leave it blank for now. And then you can turn it online. This will enable you to see what it looks like, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So in live editing, you can change your time remaining for the main timer, the credits timer. You can change the jackpot, which currently is not editable because you're as a jackpot type replay. It's a progressive one, so we can't edit that. And then you have your main ranking here, which you'll see players in your main ranking. And then you have your credits ranking here. In your credits ranking, you can import from CSV. So you can import a file. You can browse your desktop and select a CSV file, and it will automatically load those players into the database or into that replay contest. And they will instantly show up. Or you can choose to add a player. So I can say like, okay, Ravy, Dragon, SLSGC, 0 cash, and 500 credits. Okay. And now I am showing. And you notice it also tells me when my credits are going to expire. Right now, I believe carried credits is completely turned off, which is why it is going to expire at the end of this session, which is in an hour. So let's see. So we're going to go over here to board view, and we're going to say start simulation. What board view does is board view lets you see what your board looks like in world without actually having it rezzed or being logged on. So like if you're not logged in Second Life and you want to see what your boards look like, you can always look at them through here. It's very cool. So we're going to hit start simulation, and it's going to ask, some contests won't ask you this, but replay will. It will say, well, there's multiple layouts here. What layout do you want to show? Okay, we're going to pick default because default's going to show both cash and credits. The other option is credits only, no cash. I'm going to say okay. And it looks a little bit low res here. The released version will not be low res. But this current one is low res because it pulls it directly from Second Life. But anyway, you see here, you see what your replay looks like. Now the font isn't exact, but that's okay. You're not going to get the same font. But you are going to get a nice looking board in the same colors that you have configured. And more importantly, you're going to see the data. And you see me right here, Ravy Dragon SLSGC, 500 credits, because that's what I have. And you can also select here, you could say show chat. And show chat will display little pop-up balloons that show up when there is chat on the board. So you will see like the IMs that it sends to the players and the reminders and things like that. So you need to be careful because you very well could get flooded. So it is off by default. So that is how most contests work and how you create a contest. Now in the next video, because this one ran a little bit long, I'm going to go over actually creating this replay board in World.